Hello, Drake Hawkins Music Optimistic here, and today I'm going to be adding another entry to my discography ranked series by ranking every 21 Pilots album from worst to best. Now, 21 Pilots is a duo that I've been aware of for a while, as their hits from 2015 and 2016 were basically unavoidable, but for the most part, I've avoided them ever since those tracks annoyed the shit out of me. Because yeah, I couldn't go literally anywhere without hearing Ride, Stressed Out, or Heathens every single day, and so I eventually just started to resent them and avoided them completely. Until this year, when their newest record, Clancy, came out, I decided I might as well get some context, so I listened to Trench beforehand, knowing that was their most acclaimed record, and then I listened to Blurryface, and then I've listened to literally everything that they've put out, and so now I'm giving my thoughts on their discography. So yeah, there's not a whole lot to introduce here, so let's just go in at the bottom spot, number 7.
Down in the forest, we'll sing a chorus.
That would be the 2011 record, Regional at Best, which when I decided to listen to this, I assumed it would probably end up being in its last spot because of the infamous reputation it has of it basically just containing demos for what would go on to Vessel. And the versions of the tracks here are very poorly mixed. The originals have very shit auto-tune that sounds like the worst shit you'll ever hear. Like, I don't know how anyone can hear the chorus of Lovely and think that his singing sounds good at all with this overly unnecessary amount of pitch correction. Like, I don't have an issue with using auto-tune as a tool or a way to make your music sound better, but here it just completely drags down any sort of ideas that could have sounded better on a better record. Like, literally, Trees on this record is basically unlistenable with its thick ass layers of auto-tune in the vocals. Not to mention the instrumental on that track and the other ones that would end up on Vessel are the instrumentals are just so thin and just nothing. That being said, this record isn't entirely unlistenable, as I think there are some really good tracks on here that I wish were on streaming. Kitchen Sink, actually a fantastic track, beautiful atmosphere, and it features who I think is Tyler Joseph's brother. Forest has a genuinely great and encapsulating chorus on it that sometimes gets stuck in my head. But yeah, a good majority of this record is pretty much unlistenable, and there's not really any reason to go check this run out except for the originals, as most of this project would end up on Vessel later on. So yeah, coming up next, number 6.
My name's Blurryface and I care what you think.
That would be their 2015 record, Blurryface, their really big, massive project, which I think is still probably their best-selling record to date, containing hits like Ride, Heavy Dirty Soul, Stressed Out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure those 3 were the biggest hits from the record, and it's pretty clear why once you actually listen to it, because the first 3 tracks sound pretty decent. Sure, there's some shit lyrics in the first track of, this is not rap, this is not hip-hop, just another attempt to make the voices stop. That's why I haven't saved that Heavy Dirty Soul, because other than that, I really do like the heavy break beats, the manic energy of the track. It's just that the lyrics on this record tend to be kind of trash. But yeah, the first 3 tracks on this record, pretty good. Ride has a pretty great reggae-infused instrumental with some pummeling riffs. Stressed Out is a pretty catchy bit of 2010s pop. Heavy Dirty Soul, pretty cool track. But the second that those 3 songs are done, we are given fucking some of the worst pop music I have ever heard. Like, who in their right mind decided Fairly Local would be next to Ride, one of the best tracks on the album, which isn't even like a career highlight in my opinion. They should be fired, because it's not only is it a terrible bit of electropop, but like it's a terrible bit of dubstep as well. It has some like wubs and shit in there. Like 21 Pilots is pretty infamous for trying to blend so many different styles and genres and stuff, and this record is also one of the worst examples of doing that, because it'll infuse so many things on a single track and none of it will work. I don't like the millennial ohs all over this track mixed with the fucking dubstep ass drums and fucking wobbly ass bass. None of it sounds good in my opinion. It's just an amalgam of absolute sludge. Lane Boy is one of their most reggae-centric tracks, period, and it's not great, it's not good. I do love the outro portion with the breakbeat switch up getting more intense, but like what comes before that is like a terrible chorus and a bunch of like gentrification. I don't like it. I feel like this record could be this low on the spot and maybe even in last place just for the judge alone, because that is literally one of the worst songs I have ever heard. Like, Tyler is squawking his fucking heart out over some royalty-free ass ukuleles. It sounds awful. There are moments on here that will get stuck on my head every now and then, like the chorus of "Where we're from, where no one our hometown's in the dark. And the chorus of Doubt being like, don't forget about me. As I think the auto-tune on that track sounds actually kind of entrancing, but I really do not like the fucking trap hi-hats that it goes for and the weird spacey trap dubstep fusion on that. Like, there's a lot of moments on this record that tries blending too much, and I think it overall ends up being a fucking nightmare of sound, and I absolutely do not like this record at all. The outro track of Goner does have some great riffs at the end, but there's no point in sticking around through the just okay piano balladry of the rest of the track and the terrible middle portion of this record. Like, there's no point. They have better records. And that brings us to number 5. Vessel, their 2013 record, their big breakout commercial record, the one that got them on the map for many people. And we're getting into the records where I kind of like it, even though this one I still think it's just okay. There are fantastic ideas on this record, like Ode to Sleep with its big progressive pop punk flair type thing. Holding On to You is an okay track. House of Gold is pretty endearing, and generally the production on this record is fairly nice. I really do like the chunky synth on the intro track, and the minimal sort of ukulele playing on House of Gold comes across as more endearing than it does grating like it did on The Judge, especially with him singing over it about trying to cure his mother of disease and trying to just build a better life for her. But for the most part, there's only a few tracks on this record I actually come back to. That being the intro, Ode to Sleep, Guns for Hands with its suicidal ideation and just overall weird progression, and Trees with its absolutely beautiful, monstrous, rising, enveloping choruses. Like, it reminds me of Owl City, but like in the best way possible. But yeah, a good deal of this record I don't really care about. It's just fine electropop, dance pop, indie pop. This record is clearly trying to go for a very commercial sound, trying to be this big breakout moment, and there are some tracks where I feel like that works, like I said, but for the most part, I don't really care about the rest of it. Car Radio is a bit too overly serious for what it's going for. I feel like Screen falls into the issue of sounding like it's stock ukulele music. And then Migraine, I don't like for 2 reasons. One, I feel like his depiction of suicidal thoughts is very elementary, like, not saying he didn't struggle with these things, but that the way that he was writing about them is very, like, not nuanced and it feels disingenuous over these hokey ass, bright ass ukuleles. And the second reason I don't like it is because when I was having a manic episode years ago in like 2018, 2019, someone sent me this song saying like, hey, I listened to this band to calm down. You should check this out. I listened to this and it made it worse because yeah, this is not a very good reflection of depression, my guy. Vessel is an okay, interesting set of ideas, but I just don't get much out of it. Number 4.
Oh, misbeliever, my pretty weeper.
That would be their 2009 self-titled record, 21 Pilots. So far, this is their longest record, being just over an hour and 14 tracks in length, but honestly, it's quite a beautiful listen. Like, sure, there are plenty of tracks here that fall into the weird pop reggae fusions that they did a lot in this early days, but for the most part, this is just a pretty standard piano rock record with some moments of like dark cabaret influence. Tracks like Oh Misbeliever and Taxi Cab are absolutely gorgeous and endearing from front to back. For the most part, this record, I was just in awe listening to it. Like, I can't even remember specific moments other than like Friend Please, March to the Sea, Oh Misbeliever, Taxi Cab, and Isle of Flightless Birds, because for the most part, this entire record is just one long experience where it's just a very beautiful, almost Christmas vibe to it. Like, it's a very simple record. I don't feel like there's a whole lot to say about it other than this may not be the thing that you're looking for in a 21 Pilots record, as nothing else that they've done sounds like this. But honestly, I did really enjoy this and I was surprised that I did. Maybe on a future re-listen, I won't like it as much, but I definitely think it is quite a pretty beautiful record. And that's literally all I have to say about that. Number 3. That would have to be their 2021 record, Scaled and Icy. This project is definitely the most dancey and straight out commercial that they've gotten. Because yeah, while Blurry Face was clearly trying to go for a bunch of different fusions that ended up being a very massive hit, this one is very clearly trying to be a massive hit, but it didn't have the same success. Now, why that is, I'm not sure. Maybe it was because it was the pandemic and no one was really looking forward to this, or no one really wanted to dance. But honestly, yeah, this record is pretty fun. Now, to be fair, it's still like a 5 5 out of 10 record to me. It's just okay, but that primarily comes down to the first 3 tracks being so great, the last 2 tracks being so great, and everything in between those points is just fine. Like Good Day is basically just a throwback to their piano rock days, basically just being a straightforward tale of a good day and envisioning different bad things that could happen, and why today is actually pretty good because that's not happening. Choker switches it up to be a bit more depressive, but it's still pretty great, aside from the rap verse on the end, which is legitimately awful. And then Shy Away is like a top 5 21 Pilots song. I think it's so damn good. No Chances is like a weird dubstep fusion track, but it's one of the few ones that I actually think works from them. And then Redecorate genuinely gets stuck in my head a lot, like the chorus of it. And then detailing like suicidal ideation in this way actually feels genuine compared to how they do it on previous records and other songs. So yeah, this one is genuinely a great song. But tracks like The Outside, Never Take It, and Formidable, I forget what they sound like for the most part, and whenever I do re-listen to them, they just come off as very nondescript, generic, and like very one note. Like literally anybody could have made these songs, and I don't think it would have lost or gained anything. Mulberry Street is a very anti-medication sentiment that I actually kind of agree with. People shouldn't be forced to take medications for their mental illnesses if they don't want to, if they don't feel like it's doing it for them, because really the only one that it should care about if the drugs are doing something to them is the person who actually has to take them. And so other people being like, no, you should take these, you should take meds because you'll be more bearable. No. Saturday is a track that gets a lot of hate, and I can understand why, because it does sound like a Target commercial, but honestly, other than the chorus, I actually love this track, especially the pre-chorus of the catch me floating circles in my fishbowl. Like, it's genuinely such a good, intoxicating track, and the weird underwater theme of this, and I think there were like a couple of the tracks that mentioned something about like water and stuff. It could have just been that one, but the weird theming is just very fun. But yeah, just like many 21 Pilots records, it's pretty inconsistent. Take a few tracks from it and call it a day. But like, our top 2 spots are ones that I actually love. So yeah, coming in at number 2. That would be their newest record as of recording, Clancy. This thing is 13 tracks, 47 minutes of just pure fun. Overcompensate is one of their densest intros yet. Next Semester is a great fiery bit of pop punk and dance punk. Backslide is such an overly emotional thing. Routines on the Night is like a top 10 pop song of the year. Vinya has such a damn good and captivating chorus. The Craving, Jenna's version, while his vocals may like split up and sound like shit at some points on it, is genuinely a very endearing track. Snapback is like a reiteration of Backslide earlier in the track list, but with a more circus type beat, I think, is how I would describe it, but it still works somehow. And then closing off the record with Paladin Straight, one of the best tracks of the year, in my opinion. Fantastic way to close off the record. I'll probably talk about this record more when it comes to making my list for the year, but yeah, just a pretty great record all around. And so yeah, my number 1 album from them, pretty unsurprising. Trench. Wow, what a great take! This one is pretty much everyone's favorite 21 Pilots record, and it's pretty clear why. Not only is the production much better than literally every other record, but the songwriting is so much more mature, very conceptual, and like the flow from track to track to track is just absolutely fucking magical. Lyrically, they're not treading a whole lot of new water on this record, but they're doing it in such a way that feels so nuanced, balanced, and just 10 times more like mature, like I said. Like Neon Gravestones, where they're talking about suicide, depression, but in a way that feels genuine and really puts emphasis on the severity of the issue. This is a record that I feel like a lot of people have talked about a lot better than I have, and pretty much anything anyone says about this record is that it's good, and I agree that it's good. Like, I listened to this album so much now. It is such a damn good project. Jumpsuit with its fiery ass riffs, Levitate with its, like, Tyler Joseph has never been a great rapper in my opinion, but on Levitate, it's like he channels a big fiery fucking dragon and just absolutely dominates this track. And as much as I've complained about previous records having weird reggae fusions and it being gentrified, Cut My Lip is a pretty straightforward piano reggae track, but it sounds fantastic with its dubby effects and its just absolutely wild structure. The only track I'm not like absolutely head over heels for is Legend, and that's primarily because I feel like it's a reiteration of the hype earlier in the track list, but with not as good of a tune behind it. Like, this project is pretty much perfect. It's like a damn good, almost flawless record. It's like a solid 9 for me. It's absolutely incredible. And yeah, that's basically why Trench is my favorite album from 21 Pilots. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Tell me in the comments how you would rank their discography. If you agree with me, if you disagree with some of my placements, that's fine. Just let me know in the comments. Just keep it civil. And yeah, I am currently working on my Chance the Rapper The Big Day video. I am about 3.5k words into it. Update, it's actually even further along. It's at about 4.4k words. Hell yeah. And I just realized while scripting the other day that once I finish the current track that I'm talking about, I'm only 25% of the way through the album because this record is so fucking long. So, yeah, support me on Patreon.